At the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, the Crown Prince was trapped in a fire. I risked my life to save him, but half of my face was burned, leaving me as hideous as a demon. The Emperor forced the Crown Prince to repay the debt of gratitude by marrying me, yet he resents me for causing him to lose all face. They drugged me into unconsciousness, broke my limbs, and threw me into a beggar's den to be humiliated. I endured endless torment, dying with overwhelming hatred. When I came to, the familiar sight of a raging fire was before my eyes once more, along with inexplicably appearing black characters. The timing of the male lead's rebirth is just terrible. Why did it have to be at this moment? He originally intended to set fire to kill the second prince, and getting trapped himself was just a ruse of self-inflicted injury, but he overacted and nearly burned himself to death. It's fine, anyway, the cannon fodder will rush in to save him. And the male lead is already prepared. He'll splash the tung oil hidden on his body onto the cannon fodder, pinning the blame on her and ensuring she dies cleanly, so he won't be bothered by that ugly wretch anymore. But I, too, wish he would die cleanly. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Fire, fire, go save him quickly, the Crown Prince is inside. The Mid-Autumn Palace banquet was completely disrupted by a sudden, raging fire. Everyone gathered outside the blazing side hall, craning their necks to see what was happening. I pushed through the crowd and stood at the closest point to the flames. The scorching heat wave hit, and instinctively, a desire to retreat arose. Wanzhou, what are you doing? Come back quickly. My mother grabbed my sleeve, pulling me back desperately, afraid that I might do something foolish in a moment of despair. What a pity. I must venture into this fire scene. I grabbed the bucket from the eunuch beside me and drenched myself completely, lifting the hem of my skirt. I charged forward. Everyone was stunned. Only my mother was screaming my name heart-wrenchingly behind me. Entering the burning side hall again was not a pleasant experience. The heat was almost scorching my eyes, covering my mouth and nose. I searched around for my target, drawing on my past life's experience. I no longer charged recklessly. Instead, I carefully sought out areas with weaker flames and pressed deeper inside. Save me, cough, cough, cough. A cry for help came from beside me, and I turned to look. It was the Crown Prince, Xiao Yanchen, clad in a python robe. Upon seeing me, his eyes lit up, and he eagerly reached out his hand to me. I know you, Miss Jiang. If you can save me and get me out, I will repay your life-saving grace with the utmost gratitude. Between him and me was a half-burning beam. If I steeled myself, I could have just leaped over it. If I hadn't been reborn, if I hadn't witnessed all that would happen after I saved him, I might have actually thrown myself over. In my past life, my heart and eyes were indeed filled with Xiao Yanchen, and I charged into the fire with reckless courage to save him. I even used my own body to shield him when a burning beam weighing hundreds of pounds came crashing down. Xiao Yanchen repeatedly promised to repay my kindness, but in the end, all he brought me was endless humiliation in a beggar's den. I hate him, so much that I wish I could kill him right now, but there's no need to dirty your own hands. I completely ignored Xiao Yanchen's outstretched hand, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a man in a green bamboo robe lying on the ground not far away. I rushed straight toward him. Behind me, Xiao Yanchen stood frozen in place, his eyes wide with disbelief. Even the black characters in the sky went wild. What's wrong with this cannon fodder? Didn't she rush into the fire to save the male lead because she deeply loved him? Why is she ignoring him like this? Oh my God, is the male lead really going to be trapped here? What are you thinking? This is the male lead. He must have an escape plan ready. Why is she heading straight for the second prince? Stupid cannon fodder. Turn around quickly. The one behind you is the Crown Prince. The one in green is the second prince. No matter how fast and numerous the black characters scrolled above my head, I paid them no mind. Xiao Yanqiu, already harmed by Xiao Yanchen, had long since fallen unconscious on the ground. In my past life, I risked half my life and only managed to save Xiao Yanchen. While Xiao Yanqiu, the gentle and refined second prince, beloved by the emperor, silently perished in the fire. But in this life, I am determined to save him. I struggled to lift one of Xiao Yanqiu's arms, supporting him as I quickly moved us outside. Crack, creak. The sound of wood breaking came from above. I barely had time to look up before a mass of flames came crashing straight down. Instinctively, I wrapped my arms around Xiao Yanqiu's waist and rolled forward. The next second, a sharp pain shot through my arm, the familiar burning sensation exploding, making me let out a muffled groan. It's just a hand injury, much better than the disfigurement in my past life. Ignoring Xiao Yanqiu's repeated pleas for help, I pressed forward with unwavering determination. Finally, I dragged Xiao Yanqiu out of the hall. The palace attendants swarmed forward, pushing me aside forcefully. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Wait, this isn't the Crown Prince, isn't this the second prince? Then where is the Crown Prince? Eunuch Shen, who served the Crown Prince, suddenly looked up and glared at me. You didn't save the Crown Prince. I have no energy to deal with these people, my eyes fixed intently on the side hall's entrance. If I don't save them, there will certainly be others who will. The drenched guards charged desperately into the fire, about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. Finally, he carried out a person who was completely blackened. Seeing his master turned into a human-shaped charcoal, Eunuch Shen cautiously reached out a hand to check his breathing. But the next second, he let out a sharp scream, "Ah!" Then he completely fainted dead away. Is Xiao Yanqiu dead? He must be dead. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. My eyes rolled back, and I collapsed to the ground. I had been unconscious for 2 full days. The events of dying and being reborn, then rushing back into the fire, had completely drained my energy and spirit. It wasn't until the morning of the 3rd day after the palace banquet that I finally opened my eyes. My trembling hands reached out to touch my own arms and legs, intact and mobile. Not like in the dream of my past life, where it was broken by Xiao Yanqiu and could never be lifted again. Now I have hands and feet, and I will never again allow those filthy beggars to humiliate me. I held myself and sobbed, then finally burst into loud, unrestrained crying. The Crown Prince is dead, and no one can ever hurt me again. The maid waiting outside heard my cries and quickly fetched my parents and the house physician. Soon, a large crowd swarmed into my bedroom, their faces full of concern. The house physician stepped forward to carefully examine the injury on my arm. After removing the gauze, my mother's tears fell. I looked down and saw a charred patch the size of a bowl. The physician sighed repeatedly, his eyes full of pity. The entire piece of flesh is scalded through. It's a miracle the young lady can still move her hand. My mother was nearly fainting, clutching the physician and asking, "Can my daughter's hand still recover? She's a girl, how can she bear such a large scar on her body?" The physician remained silent, only shaking his head repeatedly. I knew all too well that burns and scalds were the hardest to treat. I said immediately, "Scrape off all the rotten flesh." Wanzhou, my mother was shocked. Unable to imagine that I could utter such a horrifying suggestion as cutting away flesh to treat a wound. "Mother, only by removing the rotten flesh can new flesh grow. This is the truth I came to understand after being reborn." Seeing my insistence, my mother fell silent. She just kept crying. My father, who had always been a man of few words, held my mother in his arms. After a long silence, he slowly said, "There's a message from the palace. If you're awake, you should go to the palace." I wasn't surprised, just nodded calmly. With such a major fire breaking out during the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, His Majesty is furious and will undoubtedly conduct a thorough investigation. Those who rushed into the side hall at the time are all witnesses, but the mastermind behind all this is already dead. I took a deep breath, catching a glimpse of those black characters sneering at me coldly from the corner of my eye. I can't take it anymore. Can we just skip the plot? Who wants to watch a cannon fodder character putting on a sappy family show? It's nauseating. I'm speechless. The male lead originally planned to use the leftover tung oil to kill the cannon fodder, but the cannon fodder, for some unknown reason, went and saved the second prince. While the male lead was dodging the falling wood, he accidentally spilled the tung oil and ended up setting himself on fire. It breaks my heart to watch. The crown prince is a prodigy, a favored son of heaven. And now he's severely burned, unable to move. It's all this cannon fodder's fault. If only she had obediently gone to save the crown prince and then died in the fire along with the second prince, that would have been perfect. Why all this unnecessary trouble? I say, you readers. Even a minor character is a human life who would willingly become a stepping stone for the protagonist. Do you even see supporting characters as people? So what? This is a power struggle story centered on the male lead after all. If you don't like it, get out. Exactly. The male lead is a formidable hero of his time. Everyone should be willing to sacrifice everything for him. I was instantly stunned. The crown prince isn't dead. He survived being burned like that. Xiao Yanchen's life is unexpectedly tenacious. In an instant, I felt as if I had fallen into an icy cellar, having lived a second life. I knew very well that Xiao Yanchen was an extremely narrow-minded and vengeful person. In my previous life, I had clearly saved his life, yet he resented me for having to marry me. In the end, he repaid kindness with enmity, leaving me in a state where I could neither live nor die. This time, I ignored his plea for help and even saved his enemy. I even caused him to be severely burned and disfigured by the fire. He will definitely not let me off. I immediately told my parents that I must go to the palace at once to explain the situation. I won't treat the wound anymore. I hastily threw on an outer garment and set off immediately. The maid brought me a veil, wanting to cover the ugly wound on my arm. I shook my head. What's the point of covering it up? This is my bargaining chip to win the emperor's sympathy. I rode in a carriage into the palace, then followed the palace attendants on foot to the emperor's study. As soon as I stepped into the study, I saw a person wrapped up like a zongzi sitting in the grand tutor's chair to the left. Only the eyes and mouth were visible. Upon seeing me, he instantly struggled to get up. It's you, Jiang Wanzhou. You had already rushed in at that time. Why did you ignore my cries for help? Why didn't you save me? Was it intentional? Did you just want me to be burned to death in the fire? You plotted against the crown prince. I will execute your entire clan. Execute your entire clan. In an instant, everyone's gaze was fixed on me, including the emperor. Unfazed, I knelt down in public and performed a grand salute to the emperor. He remained prostrated on the ground, not raising his head for a long time, yet his voice was remarkably calm. I beg your majesty to forgive my offense. The emperor narrowed his eyes, his voice low and heavy, pressing down on me until I could barely breathe. Oh, and how should I forgive you? Could it truly be as the crown prince said, that you deliberately refused to save the heir apparent, with the intent to murder the Eastern Palace? Such a grave accusation. If it were my past self, I would have likely panicked and begun to defend myself in a fluster. My forehead touched the ground, yet my posture did not tremble in the slightest. Not so. I ventured into the fire alone, indeed with the intention of saving someone, but the fire in the side hall was intense, and I lost my way for a moment. I saw a person lying not far from the entrance. I couldn't make out who it was, but I thought saving even one person was better than none, so I dragged them out. Only afterward did I learn that it was the second prince, not the crown prince. I am but a weak woman. While rescuing the second prince, my arm was struck by a falling beam, and I no longer had the strength to return to the fire and save the crown prince. I rose slightly, then kowtowed heavily to the ground, declaring with resolute force, but failing to rescue the crown prince in time is this subject's daughter's fault. I am willing to accept punishment. As I spoke, I subtly lifted my sleeve, revealing the gruesome wound on my arm. As the words fell, the entire study fell silent. Everyone exchanged glances, their faces filled with pity. I am but a young lady from the inner chambers, and I exhausted all my strength just to rescue Xiao Yanqiu, not to mention, I was unconscious for 2 whole days afterward, and my arm is still injured. Under such circumstances, to accuse me of incompetence in protecting His Majesty is extremely harsh. The emperor coughed lightly and waved his hand, saying, I understand, Miss Jiang, you may rise. At that critical moment, it was you, a woman, who rushed into the fire first to save people. This shows the incompetence of the palace guards. I will punish them severely. I did not rise but remained kneeling and continued, I dare to speak further, Your Majesty. Oh, please speak, Miss Jiang. I straightened my back and glanced at Xiao Yanchen, who was glaring at me angrily, saying, the crown prince's severe injuries were not due to the guards' delayed rescue, as far as I know. After I rescued the second prince, the guards immediately entered the fire to search for the crown prince, in no more than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. The crown prince had already been burned too. I thought about it and swallowed the word charcoal before it left my lips. Everyone present understood my implication, and thoughtful expressions appeared on their faces. In such a short time, the Crown Prince has suffered such severe injuries. If he were merely trapped in a fire and caught in the flames, it absolutely shouldn't have been this bad. Moreover, when I rushed into the fire, I noticed an unusual smell. The Emperor suddenly stood up and hurried over to me, asking urgently, "An unusual smell?" I raised my head, my back straight and posture upright. "Yes, if I am not mistaken, it is the smell of tung oil." Outrageous. Why would there be tung oil, which aids combustion, in the side hall? The Emperor's fury made everyone bow their heads and kneel, begging for mercy. Xiao Yanchen had already realized the situation was turning against him and hurriedly spoke up. Miss Jiang must have misidentified the smell, Your Majesty." I abruptly cut off Xiao Yanchen's words, kowtowed firmly, and then said word by word, "The Crown Prince and the Second Prince are Your Majesty's only 2 adult sons. A sudden fire nearly killed both of them. If this was not a natural disaster but a man-made calamity, the mastermind behind it deserves the harshest punishment. I beg Your Majesty to investigate this matter thoroughly and deliver justice for the Crown Prince and the Second Prince." The study remained silent for a long time. Xiao Yanchen dared not speak at this moment. He was well aware that he couldn't withstand scrutiny, but if he tried to stop the Emperor from investigating, it would be as good as admitting guilt without being accused. Now, he found himself caught between a rock and a hard place. I slightly raised my head, catching a glimpse of those black characters in my peripheral vision going wild with curses. What's the big deal? Although this was indeed orchestrated by our male lead, who told the Second Prince to compete with him for the throne, always trying to win favor in front of the Emperor, he struck first. Isn't it only right for the Second Prince to die? Exactly. The male lead must proactively eliminate all unfavorable factors, otherwise. Why keep a threat around like it's a New Year's decoration? Why hasn't this cannon fodder died yet? And she's putting on airs. She's not the protagonist of this book. Can't she figure out her place? Why wasn't she burned to death in the side hall? Oh no, if they investigate, there's still some of the aphrodisiac incense left that the male lead lit in the side chamber earlier. I quickly caught the key point in their words. Right, in his previous life, Xiao Yanqiu was burned alive because Xiao Yanchen drugged him, rendering him unconscious and unable to escape. I gasped softly. How should I bring this matter up to the Emperor? My fingers twitched slightly, but Xiao Yanchen cut me off. Even if you could only save one person, why didn't you save me? I was shouting for your help, yet you acted as if you didn't see me and rushed straight to the Second Prince. To me, it seems you must have been involved with the Second Prince. You deliberately left me to die. Xiao Yanchen was trying to change the subject. He wanted to divert attention from the tung oil matter and pin the blame on me first. I rolled my eyes and immediately retorted, "If Your Highness the Crown Prince was conscious, why didn't you escape the fire yourself instead of relying on a mere woman like me to save you?" Of course, it was because he himself had been drugged with incense, leaving his limbs weak and unable to move. Besides, he was waiting for me to walk right into his trap, so that I could die cleanly in the fire. But which of these 2 reasons could he possibly say out loud? You. Xiao Yanchen glared at me fiercely, his eyes seeming to spit fire, but I had no intention of letting him off so easily and was just about to bring up the matter of the incense. Your Highness the Crown Prince has reminded me, when I rescued the Second Prince that day, I vaguely noticed something was wrong with him. He was weak in all 4 limbs, as if he had been drugged. Father, my words were interrupted. A soft, weak voice sounded. It was the Second Prince, Xiao Yanqiu. He was slowly helped in by a eunuch. His black boots made a dull sound as they stepped on the carpet. He came to my side and bowed with me. The Emperor frowned and said gently, "Why have you come? Didn't you say you were unwell and needed more rest?" Xiao Yanqiu smiled. "I beg Your Majesty's forgiveness. I heard that Miss Jiang has entered the palace, so I rushed over. Even if this body is of little use, I had to come in person to thank my benefactor." He stepped back 2 paces and bowed deeply to me. I returned the gesture with feigned courtesy, murmuring words of humble deference. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Xiao Yanqiu shifted the topic once more. "Just now when I entered, I heard Miss Jiang say she suspects that I might have been drugged at that time." He coughed lightly a few times and pulled his thin outer garment tighter around himself, yet I noticed that his gaze was exceptionally clear and sharp. In fact, the reason I was trapped in the side hall with the Crown Prince that day was because he sent someone to summon me there. Xiao Yanqiu said that as soon as he entered the side hall, he caught a strange scent. After inhaling, his limbs quickly went weak. He managed to take a few steps forward, caught a glimpse of the inner chamber, and then collapsed to the ground. Before losing consciousness, he only saw Xiao Yanchen slumped by the table near the window. Xiao Yanqiu was a clever man. He wouldn't openly say that Xiao Yanchen had set a trap for him. He would only speak vaguely, saying that someone was trying to harm both of them. I looked at Xiao Yanchen beside me. He was clearly at a loss, his mouth agape, unsure of what to say. I seized the moment to voice my doubt. If, as the second prince claims, the Crown Prince was ambushed first in the side hall, then why did the Crown Prince wake up before the second prince? By all logic, the Crown Prince should have been more deeply affected by the drug. The Emperor clasped his hands behind his back and turned to Xiao Yanchen. A pair of eagle-like eyes were filled with malice. Crown Prince, how do you explain this? Xiao Yanchen instinctively avoided the Emperor's gaze. But his slightly trembling hands betrayed his guilt at that moment. Your son. Perhaps it is because of my strong constitution that I was able to wake up early. When I opened my eyes, the side hall was already on fire. Calling for help loudly at that time was only human nature. He racked his brains but could not come up with a reasonable explanation. The incense was potent enough to render Xiao Yanchen completely unconscious, so much so that even if the fire reached him, he would not wake up. It's not something that can be brushed off with just a simple "I'm fine." The Emperor remained silent and did not respond to Xiao Yanchen's words. I knew when to stop and quickly excused myself, citing physical discomfort as the reason. The Emperor did not insist on keeping me. His gaze lingered on the bandage on my arm for a moment before shifting away. He said that I had rendered great service by saving the second prince and would issue an edict to reward me later. I kowtowed in gratitude and backed out of the room. When I returned home, my parents were extremely worried. My father spent his entire life on the battlefield, fighting for many years. He risked his life to earn military honors, all to protect the Jiang family and safeguard his only daughter. My mother, during my time in the palace, searched far and wide for medicinal herbs, hoping my arm would fully recover, but that was impossible. I comforted her for a long time before allowing the physician to begin scraping the flesh to treat the wound. The long dead skin and flesh should be removed as soon as possible, otherwise, it will harm the body. I don't know when I passed out. Waking up again, my arm was already wrapped in fresh bandages. The wound hadn't healed yet, still aching dully, with fresh red blood seeping through. I breathed a sigh of relief. The rotten flesh had all been cleaned out. It just needed time to recover on its own. My mother came to check on me, and during our casual chat, she revealed some new news from the palace. It is said that His Majesty thoroughly investigated the case of the mid-autumn palace banquet fire and then flew into a rage. The Crown Prince was placed under house arrest in the Eastern Palace, and a large number of his trusted aides in the palace were beaten to death. As for the cousin sent by my maternal family to serve as a study companion, I heard he showed disrespect in front of the Emperor, displeasing His Majesty, and was punished with 50 heavy strikes, which crippled his legs. Although it was not explicitly stated who the mastermind behind it all was, but those with discerning eyes could see it. This matter was most likely the doing of the Eastern Palace. It was still a case of injuring the enemy by 100 while harming oneself by 10,000. I chuckled softly, after resting for only a few days. The Emperor's rewards were bestowed. Apart from gold, silver, jewels, and fine silks, there was also an imperial edict bestowing a marriage, exactly the same as in my previous life, only this time, the one bestowed in marriage was the second prince, Xiao Yanqiu. I was not surprised and obediently accepted the edict, expressing the desire to see Xiao Yanqiu in a subtle way. The eunuch beside the Emperor flicked his horsetail whisk, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes curving into a smile. You are now the betrothed of the second prince. If you wish to see His Highness, simply send someone to announce your visit. He gave me a meaningful glance and left behind a thought-provoking remark. Miss Jiang, you truly are blessed. I really can't understand what value this cannon fodder has. To make the second prince personally request an imperial decree for marriage, claiming it's to repay a favor. I think the two of them are birds of a feather, flocking together. This infuriates me. It really infuriates me. The two of them are here being all lovey-dovey, while our male lead is lying in bed, unable to live or die. I really want to kill this adulterous couple. I suspect it's the second prince and this cannon fodder joining forces, trying to kill our male lead. I curved the corners of my mouth. That statement is indeed correct. If I don't kill Xiao Yanchen, I won't be able to quell the hatred in my heart. 3 days later, I arranged to meet Xiao Yanqiu at the Huanhua Pavilion on the outskirts of the capital. He was sitting in the pavilion in the lotus pond, having brewed tea while waiting for my arrival. I stepped forward to bow, but someone gently held my shoulder. Between you and me, there's no need for such formalities. With such a clear and serene appearance, one couldn't tell at all that just 3 days ago he was a sickly prince who would pant after walking a few steps. I didn't stand on ceremony either and entered the pavilion to sit down. Xiao Yanqiu waved his hand, and the people around him withdrew completely. He didn't waste words and got straight to the point. Now that we have been betrothed by decree, we are naturally united as husband and wife. Miss Jiang, your wisdom and courage are remarkable. I, the prince, am deeply impressed. From Miss Yijiang's perspective, if I were to contend for the throne, how should I proceed? Xiao Yanqiu brewed a fine Marojian tea, pushing a small cup toward me. I did not take it, merely staring at the pale yellow tea liquid and saying, "Strike while the iron is hot." As these words fell, the pavilion fell silent for a moment. Ha 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 ha! Xiao Yanqiu suddenly burst into laughter, raising a hand to wipe away the tears that had welled up in the corners of his eyes. As expected of you, Jiang Guanzhou, this prince truly did not misjudge. Choosing you was the right decision. Cool fingertips brushed aside the hair at my temples and gently caressed my cheek. The look in his eyes was full of ambition and greed. I stiffened my back, neither refusing nor taking another step forward. In my humble opinion, Your Highness should arrange for someone to submit a memorial stating that the Crown Prince's disfigured appearance, which is difficult to restore, truly tarnishes the imperial family's dignity and makes him unfit to remain the heir apparent. As long as we firmly insist on this point, even if His Majesty favors the Crown Prince, he will eventually reconsider the position of the Eastern Palace due to pressure from the ministers. It probably won't be too long. After all, I know how disfigured a face can become after being burned. In my previous life, Xiao Yanchen accidentally saw the imperial physician changing the dressing on my face. At that time, his expression was full of shock and disgust. As if he had seen something utterly repulsive. I still can't forget it to this day. Okay, let's do as you say. After exchanging a few simple pleasantries, I thought about taking my leave. As I was leaving, Xiao Yanqiu called out to me, "Wanzhou," just 2 simple words. Yet he presumptuously narrowed the distance between us. I turned to look back, but his gaze wasn't fixed on me. Instead, he was intently watching the pond of withered lotus flowers. "Do you still remember this place?" I was stunned. Xiao Yanqiu laughed, downing the tea in one gulp. "You really don't remember? 10 years ago, during the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, my mother died silently within the deep palace, unnoticed by anyone. For the sake of so-called royal dignity, I had to force a smile and attend the banquet. Not even getting to see my mother one last time, Xiao Yanchen bullied me since childhood, sending people to corner and humiliate me, from day to night. A full 6 hours without even a sip of water." Xiao Yanqiu looked desolate, his half-lowered eyes swirling with complex emotions, sorrow, hatred, anger, and nostalgia. Nostalgia, could it be? That's when you appeared. My heart seemed to skip a beat. In my hazy memory, it seems I really did sit with a brother in the corner for a long time at the palace banquet when I was 6 years old. He looked very sad, very sorrowful. I don't understand why he is here all alone. I just took out the snacks I had secretly kept from the banquet and shared them with him. As we ate, his tears silently fell. When I asked him why he was crying, he didn't answer. I thought he was a little mute. Later, my mother came to find me, and I had to part with him. As a child, I was forgetful and quickly put this matter behind me. Little did I expect that Xiao Yanqiu would remember it until now. "Wanzhou, you and I share the same ambition. Let us join hands to overthrow the Crown Prince." and I will make you the most honored woman in all the land." He took my hand and pressed a reverent kiss upon it. I gripped his hand in return. Okay. Once the carriage had left the hibiscus pavilion and was out of Xiao Yanqiu's line of sight, I took out a handkerchief and wiped my hands over and over, my face full of disgust. The black characters in midair continued to scroll. Is this cannon fodder crazy? He actually teamed up with the second prince. Ha! Just a few sweet promises and she's wholeheartedly following the second prince. Such a shallow woman. Fool. What kind of good person could the second prince be? He's the only prince who managed to survive to adulthood under the male lead's watch. Doesn't that say enough? Exactly. Over the years, the male lead and the second prince have secretly clashed countless times. During the plague in G County last time, just because the county magistrate was the male lead's man, the second prince's subordinates deliberately delayed the relief officials, causing tens of thousands to die tragically, all just to frame the male lead in court. TSK, hypocrite. I threw away the handkerchief and ordered the maid to burn it. Of course, I knew all this. Xiao Yanqiu, at his core, flows the same blood as Xiao Yanchen. For that supreme imperial throne, he would stop at nothing. As expected, when my father returned from court the next day, his expression was grave. He said that the sky over the Eastern Palace might be about to change. The minister who advised the emperor to change the crown prince had angered his majesty and was dragged away to receive 80 heavy strikes, leaving him on the brink of death. Yet, the matter of the crown prince's disfigurement remained a thorn in everyone's heart. Can the emperor suppress it for a while? But can he suppress it forever? How can someone whose face is beyond recognition become the crown prince? If such a person were to truly become emperor, wouldn't that be the greatest joke in the world? I smiled and had the news that the minister behind this was Xiao Yanqiu accidentally spread to the Eastern Palace, thoroughly stirred up this muddy water. Half a month later, the second prince's birthday banquet, perhaps to compensate his second son who suffered an unjust disaster. The emperor rarely made such a grand arrangement, with such high specifications that even the crown prince's birthday banquet could not surpass it. Everyone said that the second prince might replace the severely injured crown prince and become the new master of the Eastern Palace. As the prospective second prince's consort, I naturally had to attend hand in hand with Xiao Yanqiu. When we took our seats, the place opposite, which should have been occupied by the crown prince, was empty. It is said that these days, the entire imperial hospital has been revolving around Xiao Yanchen, employing every possible method in an attempt to restore his health to a presentable state. I sneered. What a pipe dream. Many ministers have already defected to the second prince, coming forward one after another to toast him. While they claim to be celebrating his birthday, in reality, they are openly and subtly currying favor with him. They are collaborating with Xiao Yanqiu to seek benefits. I find it hard to get used to such scenes and subtly step back. The next second, I was pulled over by someone wrapping an arm around my waist. On such a beautiful night, Jua should wear a brighter smile. I took the wine jug from the maid beside me, poured myself a cup and raised it slightly. Then let's celebrate, Your Highness. May you soon achieve your wishes. The last 6 words, I spoke in a very low voice. Xiao Yanqiu heard it. The smile on his face grew even wider. He clinked glasses with me and threw his head back, downing the drink in one gulp. I didn't hesitate and took a sip as well. The next second, a warm, thick liquid reeking of blood sprayed onto my skirt. I looked up to see Xiao Yanqiu staring in shock, his pale chin already stained with dark blood. What's happening? I let out a scream on the spot. Your Highness, an assassination attempt. The birthday banquet instantly descended into chaos. Even the emperor at the head table could no longer remain seated and quickly rose to rush over. I held Xiao Yanqiu's body, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face, as if I truly held some genuine affection for him. What's going on? The second prince didn't die in the fire, but ended up dying at his own birthday banquet. What kind of plot is this book even following? You're so slow. Upstairs. Didn't you know the second prince's cup was just poisoned by the maid? That was our male lead's doing. If everything goes as planned, the male lead is already preparing to force his way into the palace with his private army to seize the throne. We're about to witness the grand scene of him being draped in the imperial yellow robe and ascending to the emperor's seat. I've long been fed up with these people. Kill them all. I suddenly looked up, and in the distant, deep night sky, scattered flickers of firelight were shimmering. Trouble, trouble. The crown prince is staging a coup. Eunuch Wang rushed in from outside, his shoes missing and hat askew, panting heavily as he approached the emperor. Your Majesty, you must take cover quickly. The crown prince has rebelled. What? The emperor's eyes widened in fury as he slammed his hand heavily on the banquet table beside him. Does he have a mad heart, or what? Ha, whether I'm mad or not, it's all because you forced me to this. Xiao Yanchen held the blood-stained long sword. Like an Azura crawling out of the Avsi hell. Ah, a ghost. This. What are these on the crown prince's face? As Xiao Yanchen stepped into the light, his face was fully exposed. I almost couldn't hold back from vomiting. His face was densely covered with stitches. It was as if someone had taken pieces of human skin and stitched them together on his face, barely piecing together a human visage. Is this the Imperial Hospital's method of treatment? Are they out of their minds? The second prince in my arms was already dead. I gritted my teeth, lifted my skirt, and stood up. Xiao Yanchen had already closed in on the emperor. The emperor is also unarmed. How can he fight against the maddened Xiao Yanchen? Crown Prince, do not act recklessly. I have no intention of deposing you from your position. Cease this at once. I don't believe you. You just want to depose me. Xiao Yanchen let out a cold laugh, each word dripping with blood. You see that my injuries are too severe and affect the royal dignity, so you want to push my second brother to the throne and replace me. Don't think I don't know. He raised his long sword high and swung it down at the emperor. This crown prince position, I can do without it. I want the throne. I lunged forward and shoved the emperor away with all my might. A sharp pain shot through my back, and I quickly rolled to the side, aggravating the wound a second time. The agony left me almost too weak to get up. It's you. Xiao Yanchen lifted my chin with his long sword, looking with satisfaction at my face contorted in pain. Jiang Wanzhou, why didn't you just die in that fire? If you hadn't been so clever and rushed to save second brother, you wouldn't be suffering like this now. Oh, I forgot. Have you also been reborn? My heart raced wildly as I watched that stitched-together face draw closer, yet I no longer had the strength to struggle. Yes. You have been reborn, otherwise, you wouldn't have joined forces with second brother to deal with me, but you never expected it, did you? I am the true chosen one, the one destined to rule the world as emperor. Xiao Yanchen let out a sinister laugh, pressing the blade another inch closer, breaking the skin on the neck. In my past life, I broke your limbs and threw you into a beggar's den. How did that feel? This time, I've changed my mind. He leaned close to my ear, gritting his teeth as he spoke word by word. This time, I'm going to turn you into a human swine and throw you into the 10,000 GU insect pit of Miaojiang, so you can truly experience the heart-piercing agony of being devoured by countless insects. Ha 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 ha. I moved my lips, barely making a sound. Xiao Yanchen frowned. What did you say? I took a breath and shouted with all my strength. You won't get your way, Wanzhou, my daughter. A powerful call reached his ears. And Xiao Yanchen sharply turned to look. The private soldiers he had brought were already completely subdued, and the one leading them was none other than my father. What? You? Xiao Yanchen was speechless. He stood there in a daze, lowering his head, the dagger hidden in my sleeve plunged into his abdomen. I swallowed a mouthful of blood, glaring at him fiercely. Die, Xiao Yanchen. This forced abdication ultimately ended with Xiao Yanqiu's death and Xiao Yanchen severely injured, overnight. The emperor lost 2 sons and was utterly devastated, but the matter was far from over. Xiao Yanqiu's cup was found to contain a rare poison that could kill with a single sip, leaving no chance for rescue. The one who did it was Xiao Yanchen. With conclusive evidence, the ministers jointly submitted a petition, demanding the emperor bring Xiao Yanchen to justice. Even the Son of Heaven is not above the law, let alone Xiao Yanchen, who had already lost the people's support. And I gave it a little push. I suggest the minister of Dali Temple specifically investigate the hidden chambers within the Eastern Palace during the inspection. Just as expected, the minister of Dali Temple discovered numerous corpses stripped of their skin in the hidden chambers. Judging by their clothing and appearance, they were all palace servants who had mysteriously disappeared. Under intense interrogation, the truth was finally revealed. Several imperial physicians from the Imperial Medical Bureau, colluding with Xiao Yanchen, had resorted to harvesting skin from living people and grafting it onto Xiao Yanchen in a desperate attempt to restore his health. However, this method was not effective for long, as the skin developed a strong rejection reaction, and over time, the wounds worsened even more. For the sake of his face, Xiao Yanchen gritted his teeth and insisted on stitching the skin. The number of corpses in the darkroom also kept increasing. It wasn't until the incident of the forced palace coup that such evil deeds were exposed to the public eye. The emperor had nothing to say and immediately stripped Xiao Yanchen of his noble status, sentencing him to execution at noon. It is said that as Xiao Yanchen was taken in a prisoner's cart to the execution ground, he tore off all the medicinal bandages on his body. The common people continuously threw rotten eggs and spoiled vegetables at him, and some even scattered salt to ward off evil spirits. They all regarded him as a hideous and detestable demon. Of course, all of this I heard from the maids. Our family is preparing to leave the capital. The emperor, acknowledging my merit in twice saving his life, wanted to arrange another marriage for me. Looking at those young princes of his who hadn't even grown all their hair yet, I immediately knelt down and wept. I said that I had long been devoted to Xiao Yanqiu and wished to remain a widow for him for the rest of my life. The emperor was deeply moved and granted me the title of a princess. It happened that enemies were invading the border recently, so my father put on his armor and prepared to go to the front. He simply took my mother and me along to the northwestern border. The day the carriage left the capital, I breathed the air with exhilaration. Only then did I realize I had truly come back to life. From then on, the world was wide and free, and I possessed true liberty. The second story, my husband Li Yubai, who had sworn never to take a concubine in this lifetime, had secretly kept his childhood sweetheart in a separate courtyard for 6 years. By the time it was discovered by chance, Su Jojo was already 6 months pregnant. Her in-laws were overjoyed and urged Li Yubai to bring her back immediately. Only I remained silent. When Li Yubai came to ask, I spoke calmly. Since my husband likes that woman and she is carrying the Li family's heir, then bring her home. Only because in my past life, I did not agree. I said the child was not my husband's. Su Jojo ran away crying, and the next day she threw herself into the river, taking 2 lives with her. Li Yubai buried her remains, and from that day on, a smile never again appeared on his face. He no longer spoke of taking a concubine or continuing the family line, devoting himself wholeheartedly to staying by my side, until one night, a raging fire jolted me awake. I saw my maid, Qingshui, skinned and hung on the wall, her eyes wide open in death. Li Yuebai's hands were covered in blood, his eyes crimson as he stared at me. If it weren't for you, this venomous woman, how could Jojo and the child in her womb have died so tragically? You and that wretched maid should have long been buried with them. Only when the blood and flames spread across my body did I realize that Li Yubai had loved Su Jojo to the point of madness, but utterly despised me. The Li family joyfully brought Su Jojo back to the mansion that day. I did not accept her concubine tea. I only handed Li Yubai a long-prepared divorce letter. A daughter of the Shangguan family will never share a husband with another, since you have made your choice. Let us part ways, part ways. Li Yubai suddenly looked up, staring at me in shock. Lingxi, didn't you agree to let Jojo enter the household? She is now pregnant and a benefactor to our Li family. Yet she hasn't asked for any status, being so understanding and willing to endure hardship. Li Yubai protectively shielded Su Jojo, who was 6 months pregnant, behind him. His gaze towards me was cold and indifferent. And you, as the Prime Minister's wife, instead of prioritizing the Li family in all matters, have been making unreasonable demands. Now you even dare to mention divorce. Don't forget, you've been married into the Li family for nearly 10 years. If we were to cast you out, who would want a used woman like you? Li Yubai, always aloof and refined, was the epitome of a noble gentleman in my mind. Hearing such venomous words from his lips, I was stunned for a moment. Before I could even speak, Su Jojo, heavy with child, knelt before me, weeping and sobbing. Sister Shangguan, I'm not here to compete with you for anything. I want nothing, only to stay by Li Lang's side. Even if I have to serve you both as a maid, I would be endlessly grateful. She lovingly stroked her prominently swollen belly, crying in such a pitiful way that it moved anyone who saw her. Moreover, I am carrying the flesh and blood of the Lee family. How can we let the child wander without a home? I beg for your compassion, sister. I watched quietly as she performed her act. In my previous life, it was the same. She pretended to be pitiful, begging me to agree to let her become a concubine in our household, out of caution as the head wife. Before agreeing, I specifically had my maid, Ching Shui, arrange for someone to investigate Su Jojo's background, but inadvertently, it was discovered that while she was being kept by Li Yubai in a separate residence, she had been having an affair with her distant cousin. Even this child is not Li Yuebai's. Unfortunately, Li Yubai was unaware of all this. The Li Yubai before them was completely taken in by this honey trap. Watching Su Jojo kneel down with her heavy body, he immediately felt a pang of heartache and helped her up. Jojo, mother has already agreed to let you enter the household. Why must you kneel to her? Raising his head to look at me, Li Yubai stepped closer, his eyes filled with mockery. Shangguan Lingxi, I know you're deliberately playing the game of playing hard to get, trying to use the threat of divorce to force me to give up the idea of bringing Jojo into the household, aren't you? You know perfectly well that now that I've risen to the position of Prime Minister, if I were to divorce my lawful wife, I would surely face impeachment and criticism from my colleagues. Li Yubai gripped my wrist and gave a cold smile. If you think you can control me like this, you're mistaken. I froze. I never thought of it that way. I coldly pulled my hand away. You're overthinking it. In this life, I only wish to sever all ties with Li Yubai completely, to protect both my life and Ching Shui's. I recall the vow Li Yubai made on his knees before my father, swearing with utmost sincerity before our marriage. I spoke calmly. Perhaps the Prime Minister has forgotten the oath you swore before my father, the Prince of Yong'an, 10 years ago, vowing never to take a concubine in this lifetime. But I still remember, since the Prime Minister cannot fulfill it, then we should naturally part ways. Our family's ancestral teaching is that the daughters of the Shangguan family never share a husband with another. As soon as I finished speaking, Li Yubai seemed to recall these words, his face growing somewhat embarrassed. Back when the Li family was still in humble circumstances, Li Yubai was a struggling scholar who had studied diligently by the cold window. Logically speaking, among the suitors my father had chosen for me, there was no way it would have been Li Yuebai's turn. It was he who had long intended to seek favor, waiting daily at the gate of Prince Yong'an's residence. When my father first met him, he knelt down with a serious expression and swore an oath. If your highness is willing to bestow Princess Shangguan upon me, I swear here and now that I will never take a concubine in this lifetime. My wife will be Shangguan Lingxi and her alone. If I break this vow, may I be struck by lightning and perish under heaven's wrath. It was only then that my father began to treat him with special regard, and so, I was married off to him in a less than ideal match. Amidst the tense silence, my mother-in-law, Lady Li, furiously scolded me. Shangguan Lingxi, do you still think you're the noble princess you once were? A fallen noble from a declining family? You'd better see clearly. Now it's my son who is the Prime Minister. Since you've married into our Li family, you are a daughter-in-law of the Lis. All these years you have not only failed to produce an heir, but now you are also obstructing Jojo's entry in every possible way. Do you intend to prevent the Li family from continuing its lineage? My mother-in-law, Lady Li, was furious and raised her hand to slap me. I coldly caught her wrist. Did I say I disagreed? I made it perfectly clear just now. Who Li Yubai takes as his concubine is none of my concern. I only demand. Li Yubai has signed the divorce agreement. Perhaps I had been too gentle and submissive over the past 10 years, which is why my cold, disdainful glare now left my mother-in-law too frightened to utter a word. Li Yubai stared at me coldly, but his fists were clenched tightly inside his sleeves. I know he is hesitating. Shangguan Lingxi, after 10 years of marriage, can you really just cut it off so easily? Moreover, the Yong'an prince's mansion has long fallen from grace. If you leave the Li family, where will you go? I coldly interrupted him. Then there's no need for Prime Minister Li to worry. Su Jojo, hiding behind him, rolled her eyes and softly advised, Li Lang, it seems Sister Shangguan is determined to leave. Perhaps she has a sweetheart outside. Why not just let her go? Hearing this, I could only sneer coldly inside. Su Jojo, do you think everyone is like you? A flicker of guilt and panic flashed in Su Jojo's eyes, and she began to wipe away tears with a look of grievance. Sister Shangwon, I only spoke up for you out of kindness. How could you slander me like this? What have I done wrong? Li Lang and I are deeply in love, you, as the esteemed group leader. Why must you humiliate me like this? If you look down on me for my humble background, I might as well just die. Su Juju made a move to run into the wall, but was frantically pulled back by Li Yubai and held tightly in his arms. Juju, don't be impulsive. This time, I won't let anything happen to you. No matter what. Li Yubai looked up at me again, his eyes not only cold but also tinged with faint threads of hatred. Aren't you asking for a divorce? Fine, I agree to it. I froze, realizing he had also been reborn, but hearing Li Yubai agree to the divorce, I still let out a long sigh of relief. I urged Li Yubai to sign the divorce agreement as soon as possible, but he kept delaying it. After everyone had left, Li Yubai frowned and softened his tone with me. Lingxi, even though you're being willful, as your husband, to avoid others saying I'm bullying you, I'll give you 3 days to reconsider. If after 3 days you still insist on divorcing, I will then invite the clan members to witness it. I agreed. That very evening, I had Qingshui help manage the accounts, take stock of the dowry, and pack the luggage. Qingshui stood at the gate of the main courtyard, looking at the yard she had lived in for 10 years, her face full of reluctance, with reddened eyes. She asked me, Miss, why are you suddenly seeking a divorce? My hands, busy packing, paused for a moment, and I gave a faint smile, entering a dead end. One should turn back in time. Does your young lady intend to rot away in this household? Qingshui continued to wipe her tears, feeling indignant on my behalf. Miss, you didn't see the smug look on Su Jojo's face when she moved in today, as if she's already the Prime Minister's wife, with her nose held so high it could touch the sky. It's a shame about you and the Prime Minister. If you had a child in these years, perhaps you could have tied his heart, and it wouldn't have come to this. I froze, a bitter smile welled up in my heart. Qingshui, you're wrong. There's nothing to regret about this. On the contrary, we should be grateful. Only after being reborn did I realize, the reason I hadn't been able to conceive all these years was because Li Yubai had always been pining for Su Jojo. Every time after we were done, he had the servants mix contraceptive medicine into my tonic soup. I accidentally saw him holding Su Jojo in the courtyard, speaking with tender affection. Shangwon Lingxi is just a tool for me to climb the social ladder. Jojo, my child can only be born from your womb. Su Jojo asked him playfully. That child I miscarried before was clearly your flesh and blood too. Don't you feel any heartache? Li Yubai wore a scornful smile. Her child should never have been born in the first place. Forget one dying. No matter how many times she gets pregnant, the end result is always the same. None survive. At that moment, my entire body turned cold. Only then did I understand the truth behind Li Yubai marrying me, just for fame and fortune. He, a destitute scholar from a humble background, only had to marry me to take a shortcut, rising step by step with the help of my father's power, which led to his current position as Prime Minister. In 10 years of marriage, it was only that one time I forgot to take the contraceptive medicine that I became pregnant, but the child was lost in a miscarriage before even 2 months had passed. I consulted countless physicians and imperial doctors, but they only hesitated to speak, saying that my body was too weak and not suitable for childbirth. Li Yubai held me gently, comforting me over and over. Lingxi, don't be sad, we will have children in the future. I wonder if he felt guilty when he said those words back then. Looking back on all of this now, I just feel fortunate that there were no children. Otherwise, it really would have been impossible to leave. I smiled helplessly and wiped the tears from Qingshui's face. Silly girl, why are you crying? Your young lady has been given a new lease on life. You should be happy about it. Qingshui was loyal to me for 2 lifetimes, but in my previous life, because I was so love-struck, I only had Qingshui investigate Su Jojo and uncovered that child's secret. Yet, Li Yubai held a deep grudge over it. Qingshui was skinned alive and hung on the wall. The horror of that scene still sends chills down my spine when I recall it. I secretly vowed, this life, I will definitely not repeat the same mistakes. The next day, After lunch, I was about to ask Qing Shui to continue inventorying the dowry in the storeroom. Suddenly, I heard a maid running over in a panic. "Madam, something terrible has happened. The willow tree you so carefully nurtured in the backyard has been cut down by Lady Su." By the time I arrived, the most thriving willow tree had been split right down the middle. Su Jojo stood nearby, wearing a crown woven from willow branches, deliberately flaunting it in front of me. "Elder Sister Shangguan, I'm truly sorry. I heard that you personally planted these willow trees and treasure them dearly. I merely mentioned wanting a wreath woven from willow branches, and Lord Li had a whole tree cut down for me. You surely don't mind, do you?" She exaggeratedly adjusted the green crown on her head, deliberately raising an eyebrow, hoping to see me angry and embarrassed. I suddenly laughed. "Of course, it's no problem." I waved my hand dismissively and ordered the servants under my command to cut down all the remaining willow trees. Su Jojo was shocked, her face turning pale. "Sister Shangguan, have you gone mad with anger? Are you deliberately having them cut down all the willow trees to frame me? How could you be so malicious?" My smile deepened. I hadn't said a word, yet she was already thinking in that direction. "Miss Su, Prime Minister Li will soon divorce me, and you will be the mistress of this place in the future. Why would I frame you? Although I planted these willow trees, now that I am about to leave, they should all be cut down. I cannot let the new wife find them displeasing." With that, I turned away coldly. "Order those servants. What are you standing there for? Cut them down." Su Jojo was frightened by their aggressive stance and retreated far away from me. "What are you doing?" Probably hearing the commotion here, Li Yubai rushed over, his face deathly pale, seeing those willow trees, all lying haphazardly on the ground, chopped into a mess. Li Yubai stood rigid, staring at me in disbelief. "Lingxi, how could you cut down all these willow trees?" "We planted these with our own hands," I smiled faintly. Back then, Li Yubai was assigned to a post outside the capital for several years and had to part with me. It was when our love was at its sweetest. The day before he left, he personally helped me plant these willow trees, and he made a promise with his own words. "Shangguan Lingxi, when the grass grows and orioles sing in the second month of spring, and these willow trees sprout tender buds for the third time, I will come back to see you." So every day I would break off a willow branch. I kept it in my room to remember you by. But now that our feelings have withered, these willow trees should naturally be cut down. Noticing Li Yuebai's deep gaze fixed on me, Su Jojiao's eyes flashed with a hint of jealousy and malice. "Li Lang, my stomach hurts so much." Su Jojiao feigned physical discomfort and fainted into Li Yuebai's arms. "Jojo, why does your stomach hurt?" Li Yubai, with reddened eyes, held her in his arms, his face full of tenderness. "Perhaps our child is kicking me again. Li Lang, the doctor said he's just like you, strong and full of energy even from a young age." Su Jojiao smiled shyly. The words carried a hidden meaning, and Li Yuebai's expression changed slightly as he scooped her up in his arms. "Don't just stand there. Let me carry you back to rest." Li Yubai, hearing me call him, Li Yubai paused his steps and looked back at me with a faint sense of joy and anticipation in his eyes. He lifted the corners of his mouth as expected. "What, having regrets now? If you don't wish to separate, as long as you're willing to accept Jojo's concubine T, then I will." I interrupted him with a laugh. "I just wanted to remind you, there's only one day left. Give me the divorce letter, and from now on, we owe each other nothing. You can also directly make Su Jojo your official wife. Why bother with the concubine tea ceremony?" The light in Li Yuebai's eyes faded inch by inch. He snorted coldly, flicked his sleeve, picked up Su Jojo, and left resolutely. Just as I was about to put down the book and drift off to sleep late at night, Qing Shui excitedly ran over to tell me, "Miss, I knew the Prime Minister still has feelings for you." Qing Shui passed by the study and overheard Li Yubai talking with someone. She saw with her own eyes as he signed the divorce agreement and confidently made his promise, saying that I wouldn't be long before I'd come back begging for his forgiveness. Even after I left the residence, he still sent secret guards to protect me in secret, which made my mother-in-law so angry that she stormed off. "Miss, the Prime Minister is just too proud to admit it. After so many years of deep affection between you two, how could a mere concubine be reason enough for a divorce? Maybe after this period passes, if you lower your pride a little, The Prime Minister will surely reconcile with you. Gazing at the cold moonlight outside the window, I smiled bitterly. Over the years, I had long considered the Lee residence my home. I was known as an exceptionally good daughter-in-law, dutifully serving my parents-in-law. Yet, not only was my mother-in-law ungrateful, she always thought I was too high and mighty, and went out of her way to humiliate me. Now Su Jojo is pregnant, she not only gave her private savings to spend, but also had tonics sent over in a constant stream. She even deliberately showed off at the family banquet. Jojo is such an obedient and good girl, and her belly is so promising. I've liked her since she was little and always wanted her to be my daughter-in-law. Now it feels like my wish has finally come true, she said, looking at me with a sarcastic roll of her eyes. Unlike some hens that don't lay eggs, married for 10 years and still no sign of a baby. I instinctively glanced at my husband beside me, but Li Yubai, with gentle eyes, was only focused on serving Su Jojo food. Recalling these memories, my gaze fell upon Qingshui's unwilling expression, and I asked her with a smile, "Qingshui, do you remember what wish you made on your birthday 3 years ago?" Qingshui was taken aback for a moment. I also want to be like the young lady, never sharing a husband with another woman. She suddenly looked at me with a realization. "Miss, the reason you want a divorce isn't because of Su Juju, but because the Prime Minister betrayed you, right? At least she's a bit clever." I smiled and ruffled her hair. "Stop overthinking. As soon as we get the divorce papers tomorrow, we'll return to the royal mansion." Li Yubai stared at the divorce papers in front of him, hesitating for a long time. I finally made up my mind and signed the document. "Lingxi, the Prince of Yong'an has long passed away. Even if you return to the palace, you'll have no one to rely on. If you ever need me in the future, you can send someone at any time. No need for the Prime Minister to worry." I snatched the divorce agreement, checked that everything was in order, and then nodded, parting in peace, each finding joy. From now on, I, Shangguan Lingxi, and Prime Minister Li shall have nothing to do with each other, whether in marriage or otherwise. Meeting my clear and resolute gaze, Li Yubai stood there frowning in bewilderment. For some reason, he felt an emptiness in his heart, so agitated that he could hardly breathe. Watching me turn and leave with unwavering determination, Li Yuebai's hand trembled as he reached out, calling my name with a trembling voice, "Lingxi, Lingxi," but it overlapped with another voice. Li Yubai turned his head in disbelief to look. In front of the Li residence, a luxurious carriage was parked, on which sat a gentle, jade-like young man in blue robes, smiling affectionately and waving at me. "Lingxi, I specifically sent someone to escort you back to the prince's manor." I nodded with a smile. "Then I thank you, Prince Song." Then I called for Qingshui to carry out all the dowry. Old Lady Li anxiously stepped forward to block the way. "No, these dowries belong to our Li family. As a divorced and abandoned woman, what right do you have to take away the Li family's possessions?" I let out a cold laugh and slapped her without mercy. "Remember clearly, it was a mutual separation." Old Lady Li was furious. You unfilial wretch, how dare you hit me? I am your mother-in-law." "Not anymore." I waved the divorce letter in my hand. "No matter how down and out I am still a princess personally appointed by the emperor. Besides, these dowries were personally bestowed by the emperor. Do you dare to intercept and claim them for yourself?" Old Lady Li groaned and moaned, hoping Li Yubai would stand up for her. The latter pressed her lips into a tight line, her face pale. Staring intently at me, I looked disgusted and asked Qingshui for a handkerchief. Song Zhaliu, smiling cheerfully, handed over the handkerchief she carried with her. "Lingxi, if that shrew dares to strike back, don't be afraid. I, the heir, have your back." He is the legitimate son of Duke Song and on good terms with the current crown prince. Even ministers in the palace would show him respect. With a wave of his hand, his men began moving my dowry one after another. "Let's go." Song Zhaliu stood protectively behind me, about to turn and leave. "Stop." Li Yubai frowned coldly, blocking my way. "Shangguan Lingxi, what do you mean by this? You just got divorced, and now you're already entangled with another man. Do you think asking Song Shizi to act with you will make me pity you? Dream on. Believe it or not, if you step out of your house today, I'll make Jojo the official wife tomorrow." I raised an eyebrow indifferently. "Congratulations." Then, with that, I turned and walked away. It left Li Yubai absolutely furious. Only Su Jojo behind him was overjoyed, gloating at the prospect of becoming the Prime Minister's wife. All the dowry had been packed. Before leaving, I suddenly remembered something and handed Li Yubai a letter. His eyes lit up, thinking I was going to change my mind. Li Yubai, this letter is the last gift I'll give you. Remember to read it only after you marry Su Jojo. After saying that, I never looked back, getting into the carriage and driving away. On the way, Song Zhaliu asked me curiously, "What was that you just gave him? A love letter?" I couldn't help but punch him. Love letter, my foot. Who sends love letters to an ex-husband? Do you think everyone is like you, always going back to their exes? Song Zhaliu is my childhood sweetheart. He had secretly admired the young lady of the Shen family since childhood, finally managed to win her over and marry her, only to abandon her afterward. Now, after being apart for a while, he misses her deeply and is pursuing her again. Song Zhaliu choked on his words. Let's not bring that up. But are you sure you want to return to the prince's mansion? Anyway, I'm single now. If you don't mind, I could marry you, he said half-jokingly. I gave him another hard knock on the head. Stop talking nonsense. Of course, I'm going back to the prince's mansion. Although I am a declining princess from a collateral branch, it's because my father rendered a great service by saving the emperor. This honor was bought with a human life. But now I am no longer anyone's wife. Only Shangguan Lingxi, half a month after returning to the royal mansion. I methodically arranged every detail of the household. Unexpectedly, Li Yubai suddenly barged in. The door was kicked open by him with a single forceful blow. Shangguan Lingxi, you are utterly vicious. He slapped me furiously, his eyes brimming with overwhelming hatred. You pretended to divorce me and leave, only to harm Su Jojo's child behind my back, didn't you? She's bleeding heavily now, and the doctor said the child was almost lost. Are you only satisfied when both mother and child die? Slapped for no reason at all, I was filled with rage. Without hesitation, I slapped back. Li Yubai, what's wrong with you? I've already been away from your family for over half a month. What does Su Jojo's matter have to do with me? But my strength was no match for Li Yuebai's. He gripped my wrist tightly. I knew you would say that. He forcibly dragged me back to the Li residence, forcing me to kneel and apologize in front of Su Jojo. The servants saw it with their own eyes. It was you who sneaked back into the Li residence a few nights ago, slipped into the kitchen, and tampered with Jojo's pregnancy tonic. Still not daring to admit it, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. This is truly absurd. I've already divorced. So why would I come back specifically to harm the child in Su Jojo's womb? The Prime Minister of the court couldn't possibly fail to understand such a simple logic, could he? But unexpectedly, upon hearing this, Li Yubai became even more frenzied. He pressed forward step by step, cornering me against the wall. His gaze was cold and fierce. In your previous life, it was you who personally caused Jojo and the child to die. How dare you say her death wasn't your doing? Although I don't know why you want to divorce me this time, someone as vicious as you must have ulterior motives. I stood frozen in place, staring at Li Yubai in disbelief. In his eyes, I am such a malicious person. I coldly shook off his hand. If Prime Minister Li has evidence, he can submit me to the Dali court for trial, rather than resorting to such private punishment. Gazing at the row of torture instruments laid out on the ground, I looked at Su Juju with cold eyes. I never intended to harm you. Nor did I ever think of stopping you from being with Li Yubai. The bond you shared before, I was unaware of it back then, which is why I married Li Yubai. Even if you resent me, you're directing your hatred at the wrong person. If Li Yubai hadn't begged my father on his knees to marry me back then, why would he have abandoned you? A man without a sense of responsibility, even if he has now risen to a high position, do you think he can be relied upon? Su Jojo was pretending to be asleep. Hearing these words, her eyelashes fluttered slightly, but she still showed no sign of waking up. But I have said all I can. I turned to leave. But Li Yubai grabbed my sleeve and wouldn't let go. Without hesitation, I drew the dagger from my waist and cut the sleeve off fiercely. Li Yubai, let us never meet again. Li Yuebai's face was deathly pale as he chased after her all the way out. Shangguan Lingxi, how much longer are you going to keep being this stubborn? Do you have any idea how harshly those people outside are talking about you? Stop being so headstrong. As long as you humble yourself before me, I can allow you to stay in the Lee residence." Seeming to realize the humility in his tone, Lee Yu-bai added another sentence. "Fortunately, the child in Jojo's womb was saved, otherwise I would never have let you off easily. I just found it amusing, Lee Yu-bai. You must have already investigated the matter of Su Jojo's pregnancy, right? Deliberately pinning this blame on me is nothing more than a ploy to force me to come back and see you. Now that we've met, I'll be honest with you. There is never a possibility for us." I resolutely shook off his hand, spurring my horse. I rode away. Lee Yu-bai stood rigidly in place, staring blankly in the direction where my figure had disappeared. How could this be? Shangguan Lingxi, she clearly loved me to death. Ever since returning to the prince's mansion that day, I ordered the servants to refuse all visitors, especially Prime Minister Lee. If he comes to visit, he must be turned away without exception. Since the separation, I knew the gossip about me in the capital was harsh, especially since old lady Lee deliberately exaggerated the story on every occasion, calling me a hen that couldn't lay eggs. She even said she had long wanted to divorce me. Coupled with Su Jojo now being in favor, she could turn black into white. And many people believed it. I didn't want to pay it any mind either, so I had Qing Shui brew some peach blossom wine and specifically invited Song Jilin, the heir of Duke Song, to come and taste it. When he arrived, he was in a flurry, fuming with anger. "Lee Yu-bai is really too much. What a scoundrel, Lingxi. Do you know why there are so many rumors about you outside? It's all because of that guy Lee Yu-bai. He deliberately made it impossible for you to stay in the prince's mansion, forcing you to lower your head and beg him to let you off. Yet all of this was within my expectations." I simply smiled faintly and handed him the peach blossom wine. Fools create their own troubles. Why bother with so much? Try it quickly. Song Zheliu looked up at me in surprise, a hint of admiration flickering in his eyes. "I must say, you're really holding your ground. To be honest, after all these years of marriage with Lee Yu-bai, you're just parting ways so easily now. Don't you feel even the slightest reluctance in your heart?" His hand holding the wine cup paused. I recall the past, the tragic memories from my previous life. I remember the searing pain of that fire burning all over my body, yet it was far less painful than when Lee Yu-bai personally scarred my face, and even less painful than his long-planned betrayal and revenge. Now it's just a separation, a farewell to bad people and bad things. So what is there to be reluctant about? I changed the subject, lightly laughing as I turned the focus onto the person in front of me. "Song Jilin, why don't we talk about that mission of yours? Has she been paying you any attention lately? Still planning to marry her and bring her home?" Song Zheliu gave a half-smile. "She's to him. All right, I'll give you one chance. Let me see if you truly love me as you claim." Upon learning that I was to marry again, Qing Shui was overjoyed for me. She stayed up all night, excitedly helping me count the dowry, her eyes red from happy tears. "Miss, I always knew heaven wouldn't let you down. It must have arranged a better husband for you by ending your previous marriage." I couldn't help but smile, feeling a gentle joy in my heart. The next day, as I was about to go to the street to buy wedding jewelry, I happened to run into Lee Yu-bai, who was accompanying Su Jojo on a shopping trip. I pretended not to see him and turned to leave, but he blocked my way before I could. "Shangguan Lingxi," Lee Yu-bai frowned coldly. "Have you been deliberately avoiding me these days?" I spoke lightly. "Not at all," but Lee Yu-bai sneered and said, 3 days ago, I personally went to the Prince of Yong'an's residence to deliver the invitation, asking you to attend the wedding of me and Jojo, but the people at the residence stopped me at the door. Shangguan Lingxi, although you are a princess, I am also the current prime minister. By doing this, aren't you just narrowing your own path? If you are willing to lower your attitude and stop thinking about all those messy things, perhaps I might even help you find a suitable husband. Lee Yu-bai laughed at his own words first. Even if no one wants you, for the sake of our past relationship, I would treat you like a sister and take care of you for a lifetime. Yes, Sister Shangguan. Su Jojo walked over from behind him. Now she no longer dressed like a fragile concubine. The fine fabrics and jewelry everywhere displayed the dignity and prestige of the Prime Minister's wife. Don't take those harsh words to heart. After all, a divorced woman has little chance of remarrying. Sister has no children in this lifetime and no one to care for her in old age. It's truly pitiful. Li Lang and I certainly won't abandon her.
Su Jojo deliberately provoked by stroking her swollen belly. In the future, when our children are born, I will also teach them to visit their aunt at the prince's mansion often. I rolled my eyes inwardly. I had no idea we had such a relative. My parents only had me, their daughter, and left no sisters, let alone any nephews or nieces. Su Jojo's smile instantly froze on her face. Li Yubai frowned coldly. Shangguan Lingxi, why are you so prickly all over? Jojo meant well. Don't be ungrateful. Before he could continue his sarcastic remarks, I spoke calmly. There's no need for the Prime Minister and his wife to concern themselves. Someone has already sent betrothal gifts, and I will be marrying my fiancé next month. If you don't have it, just say so. Why lie? Li Yuebai's face darkened, and he frowned irritably. Look around the entire capital. Who doesn't know you're my wife? Li Yubai, even if we were to divorce, who would dare marry you? I narrowed my eyes. No wonder these days, those who used to be on good terms with me have been avoiding me like the plague. It turns out Li Yubai was secretly behind it. But none of that matters. I didn't lie. But what does any of this have to do with you? With that, I turned and left with Qing Shui, continuing to pick out items for the grand wedding at the jewelry store. Seeing the phoenix crown and ceremonial robes, Li Yuebai's face instantly turned cold, and he sneered at me sarcastically. Shangguan Lingxi, I never expected you to become such a vain person. To get back at me, you dare to come alone to buy a phoenix crown and ceremonial robes. Aren't you ashamed? I'm really annoyed this time. I already said it has nothing to do with them, so why are they following me like a sticky plaster? Before I could even open my mouth to snap back, from behind came the voice of Song Zhilio backing me up. Prime Minister Li, I'm just here to accompany my wife for some shopping. What? Is it against the law for someone to come shopping alone? I wonder which law that would be. Please enlighten me. Prime Minister Li, I could clearly see Song Zhilio's face. Li Yubai was stunned. His gaze was fixed on our interlocked fingers, his eyes almost blazing with jealous fury. Song Zhilio, have you lost your mind? With your reputation so tarnished, why are you meddling with Lingxi? Li Yubai clenched his fists so tightly that the veins on his forehead bulged. He seemed to be advising me out of good intentions. Lingxi, you need to think carefully. Song Zhilio is not a good match for you. Don't ruin your whole life just because of a moment of anger. I found his words utterly baffling. Li Yubai, anyone in this world is more qualified to say such words than you. After all, you were the only one who made a vow and then broke it. I coldly threw out these words. Taking Song Zhilio's hand, I turned and walked away. Li Yubai felt as if his stomach was about to burst with anger. He glared at Song Zhilio with a heart full of rage, who had personally helped him into the carriage and then sat closely beside him, leaning against him. Witnessing this irritating scene, he nearly crushed his fist in frustration. In his memory, Mingming, Shangguan Lingxi had left all her tenderness and love for him. She had married him as his wife in her teens, blushing every time she saw him, and even on their wedding night. She was so shy it was almost unbelievable, recalling how he was skilled in all sorts of social interactions, yet only in front of her, he would become so nervous that he didn't know what to do with his hands and feet, even during their intimate moments as husband and wife. Hearing Shangguan Lingxi's soft and sweet voice calling him husband, Li Yubai could barely suppress the stirrings in his heart, silently reminding himself not to fall in love with her. Everything he was doing now was for the sake of using her. It was all to provide for Su Jojo, who was kept in the separate courtyard. She had secretly given her heart to him while he was studying diligently in hardship, and his first taste of intimacy was also an experience brought to him by Su Jojo. For 10 years of marriage, Li Yubai constantly reminded himself not to let Su Jojo down. In his previous life, because of Shangguan Lingxi's investigation, Su Jojo lost her life along with their unborn child. From then on, he harbored a deep hatred for Shangguan Lingxi, but he never expected that agreeing to the divorce in a moment of anger would push her further away, even into the arms of another man. After being reborn, he had intended to bring Su Jojo back and make up for everything twice over, and while he was at it, he planned to properly punish Shangguan Lingxi, but she seemed like a completely different person, no longer caring about his relationship with Su Jojo, or even showing the slightest concern. The more indifferent Shangguan Lingxi became, the more frantic and upset he felt inside. His gaze couldn't help but fixate tightly on Shangguan Lingxi. Someone as aloof and proud as him had already humbled himself multiple times, begging her to come back. Yet Shangguan Lingxi remained unmoved, watching her become so intimate with another man so quickly. Li Yubai felt nothing but a surge of jealousy in his heart, bitter and sour. Could it be that his Lingxi has truly given up on him this time? Li Yubai returned in a daze. with Su Jojo talking to him the whole way, but all he saw was the person in front of him opening and closing their mouth. Not registering a single word that was said, he suddenly remembered that on the day of their separation, Shangguan Lingxi had given him a letter. At this moment, it feels like grabbing onto a lifeline, frantically searching for that letter, only to see everything I had told him in my heart. The whole story from beginning to end. The child in Su Jojo's belly was actually fathered by her and her distant cousin she kept hidden away. Li Yubai recalled the last time he felt suspicious. He had also seen with his own eyes that after Su Jojo went out and returned, there was a bright red mark around her neck. Su Jojo, however, laughed and explained that she had gone mad the night before and accidentally caused it herself, but he clearly had no memory of it at all. Someone, go investigate a matter. Li Yubai finally made up his mind to seek comfort by investigating. In just a few days, he uncovered the truth of the matter. It turned out that everything Shangguan Lingxi said was true. The child in Su Jojo's belly is not his, but the bastard of his cousin. He kicked open Su Jojo's door in a rage and struck her with a stick. Su Jojo, you wretched woman, so it was you who has been deceiving me all along. Su Jojo pleaded in tears while protecting her belly, but Li Yubai, consumed by rage, was like a madman. In no time, he had beaten her until she was bleeding all over. Li Yubai, you're not human. You swore to treat me well for a lifetime. How could you do this to me? Su Jojo wept bitterly and wailed, my child, save my child. But throughout the entire Prime Minister's residence, everyone exchanged uneasy glances. Without Li Yuebai's order, no one dared to move. Li Yubai felt as if all strength had been drained from his body, collapsing to the ground as he finally recalled all the memories from his past life. He remembered how Shangguan Lingxi had repeatedly and earnestly advised him to act with caution, for the child in Su Jojo's womb was not his, yet he had stubbornly believed that Shangguan Lingxi was speaking out of jealousy, slandering Su Jojo merely to vie for his affection. But he did not know that was the truth. He wept bitterly in regret. Lingxi, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I didn't believe your words, I was terribly mistaken. Li Yubai realized he regretted it, but it was too late. The old lady Li always looked down on me as a barren hen, and even after I remarried. She still spread rumors about me outside, but not long after marrying Song Jeluo, the heir of the Duke of Song, I received the joyful news that I was pregnant, and they are a pair of dragon and phoenix twins. Those rumors were self-defeating, and the malicious people were thoroughly shamed. Song Jeluo and her in-laws were overjoyed. The Duke's mansion held a grand banquet, inviting nearly half the court, and even the emperor came to bless our children. Only Li Yubai looked grim. The scandal of their family had long spread throughout the capital. Everyone knew that his new wife, Su Jojo, was pregnant with another man's child, yet he treated her like a treasure. After the banquet ended, Li Yubai called out to me in a sorrowful voice, Lingxi, can you still forgive me? He hadn't finished speaking when I interrupted him. If Prime Minister Li is here to celebrate the wedding, then please enjoy the wine, but if you're here to cause trouble, my husband has plenty of shadow guards. As for forgiveness or not, that's all nonsense anyway. I'm tired, husband, please help me back to rest. After saying that, I didn't spare Li Yubai another glance, smilingly linked arms with Song Jeluo, and left together. Before leaving, Song Jeluo turned back and gave him a meaningful look. Li Yubai, there's no medicine for regret in this world. A mistake is a mistake, but come to think of it, I should thank you. If it weren't for your divorce from Lingxi, I probably wouldn't have been able to marry a wife in this lifetime. I laughed and gave him a playful punch. Song Jeluo immediately surrendered. Spare me, my lady, I'll cook for you myself tonight. Alright. Our figures gradually faded into the distance. Li Yubai left the banquet in a daze, stood by the icy river for a long time, and was said to have jumped in eventually. Was it ever salvaged later? I'm not sure, because it doesn't matter anymore. The end.